Hello and welcome to the Gambling Files podcast, the podcast that is a podcast. I'm one of your hosts, John Bruford, joined by your other toast, your other ghost, your other post, Fintan Costello. Fintan, hello.
It would have been funnier if you'd have called me Hinton. And then just
Fuck.
It's okay. You're their host, Hinton. Anyway, it was laid up. You laid it up for yourself. You missed it.
What can I say? I'm tired.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, John. You got to be taking these shots. It's just
true. Did I take a shot? I just don't know.
Who knows what you're doing?
I certainly don't. And I hope that comes across in the podcast. I think it generally does. Yeah. Never mind. So you're right, are you?
Yeah, all good.
It's been a while.
It has? Not really. Has it? Doesn't feel like it.
Well, I was really busy because I had sick children last week.
Ah, that's true. You did.
That little slot where we recorded, that was the only free time I had that week. And it went from hacking coughs on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday to they were mostly okay Wednesday, kept them off an extra day, the boys. They went to school on Thursday. I came back here and I just crashed out. I did the school run and I just crashed out for 2 hours, fell asleep straight away. And when oldest came back from school that afternoon, she was covered in sick. And then the next day that became diarrhea. And it just, it was the 12 days of Christmas, but with disease and mange and bodily fluids. And it's
that classic back to school. The kids all pick up the new bugs, share it around, dish it out.
Yeah, well, I was laid low as well. But, in a typically heroic fashion, I battled through just to look after my delightful offspring.
Good.
Yeah, it's good. And when they're older, I'm just going to remind them of these heroic moments again and again. When they're seeming a bit ungrateful, maybe I'll just be like, I taught you to walk.
No, my go-to is I taught you how to wipe your arse.
Well, let's say I didn't actually teach them to walk. I think I was working. I think that was all fun.
I missed that. I was out sick that day.
I was in Macau. Sorry. But actually, I did miss probably Joe's first 5 birthdays.
Really?
Because it coincided with G2E Asia, and that was considered one of the things I had to attend.
That's tough.
It wasn't my favorite,
Yeah.
So I've got a simmering resentment against G2E Asia.
Yeah.
That's
tough.
But do you know what? I will say one thing about G2E Asia. It's not sponsored by. Who are we? Have sponsors.
We have lots of sponsors, John. So we have, in no particular order. Actually, probably should.
What? I don't know.
I can't. Okay.
Let's talk about the shiny new sponsor first.
Let's talk about the new sponsor. The wonderful people at Evermatrix and their product, Odds Matrix, which is their sportsbook product. So if you need a white label sportsbook.
Well, I do, as it happens.
Fine. Well, then they can have you up and running in a jiffy, and they can handle basically they gave me the demo. It was brilliant. It can do everything. So all the risk management, odds making markets, they've got the works. It's brilliant. And it's a great product. And they announced recently, or probably a few weeks ago now at this point, they bought FSB in the UK. Was it FSB? What was your FSB, wasn't it? In the UK, basically, they're adding in horse racing and stuff in the UK. They've announced that they've added Kevin Furlong as Chief Product Officer, and I worked alongside Kevin many years ago at Paddy Bar, and he is an incredibly thoughtful, focused, smart guy, and really gets sportsbook and gambling and stuff.
But also, if they're going to be offering horse racing in various markets, he's got a very appropriate name.
He does.
Which I haven't seen mentioned in any of the news coverage of his appointment, and I think that's disappointing.
It's a missed opportunity.
Journalists, if you are.
So-called journalists. But no, Kevin's a great guy. Super smart.
Did you know that a jiffy is an actual unit of measurement?
No.
It's 1/100th of a second.
Is it?
Yeah. It's a real thing.
Wow.
So that they showed you they can have you up and running in a jiffy that's pretty bold.
It's a big claim. Sorry, lads. There might be a little bit of lead time.
But the actual on switch bit, that could be a jiffy. I don't know.
Yeah. So they're a great bunch. So big thank you to them, and we look forward to doing lots of great stuff with them over the coming months. Other sponsor is Optimove.
Optimove.
Number one CRM system for the gambling industry. I think the majority of the Power 50 use Optimove, which
they do.
If you want to get into the Power 50, go buy Optimove. That seems to be the causation versus correlation. I'm sure it's all related. I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure we should have that precise conversation.
Fintan, stop saying stuff.
Keep going. I'm enjoying it.
So they're great. Brilliant tool. Manage your CRM, automate everything, retain your customers better, upsell your customers better, lower your churn, increase your revenue. Easy.
Yes, I agree with everything you've said there.
Excellent. So this week's guest. Is we had a lovely conversation with Sina Azeri from Transform Gaming, and Sina's doing a couple of interesting things, and it did take Fintan a few minutes to kind of catch up and understand. I was clearly a bit slow today, so Sina's got two things going on. He's got a private equity roll up of social casino type gaming companies, which is one thing, and then he's got his other project. Related but different, which is his Convert solution, which is more for a safer space for people with problem gambling to play the games that they like, but not have the downsides of losing lots of money. Took me a few minutes to unpack it, so I do apologize to Sina and to the listeners. But we got there in the end, and he's doing some really interesting stuff, and it's still early days, but it'll be really interesting to see how it goes.
There are no stupid questions, Fintan.
Just a stupid Fintan.
No comment. But as usual, Fintan asks the smart questions, and I just chip in occasionally with the stupid ones. Meet Sina Azeri and enjoy the episode. We're joined by this episode's guest, the excellently named Sina Azeri, founder and CEO of Transform Gaming. I'd just like to mention for everybody who's watching the video, and that is nobody because this is an audio-only episode, that Fintan and Sina both look like, I don't know how to put this without sounding rude, so I'm just going to say it because I'm enjoying being bold. They look like the before part of a Just for Men advert, because they've both got these luxurious thatches of salt and pepper hair, which I'm not jealous much. Anyway, Sina, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
And congratulations on your luxurious head of hair.
Well, hopefully I get to keep it. You never know.
But you know, it's one of the people are very protective about these things. I've noticed, like when people are losing it, and I speak as somebody who has lost their hair. A lot of people get really kind of, I don't know, it's a massive part of their identity or something. I just was of the thinking that, well, it's just my fucking hair. You know, my head remains the same. But people get really, and they invest in these products like caffeinated shampoo and shit like that. And I just think, I get it. It's not like the best thing in the world to lose your hair, although my relationship with my pillow has never been better than it is now. But it's like, it's just hair at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think you look perfectly fine. I know that your audience can't see you, but you look perfectly fine. I like your headphones.
I think, Sina, it's fair to say that my beauty is on the inside.
Yes, as it should be. As it should be.
Debatable.
As it should be.
Thanks, Fintan, there for chipping in. And that reminds me, your sister phoned. She left a message. She said you should go and fuck yourself.
That sounds like my sister. She'll just call me herself. She doesn't need a messenger.
I think she's left a message for you. She just wanted that doubling up so you get it in stereo. So, Sina, what brings you here today?
I guess to start with, we can talk a little bit about what we're aiming to do at Transform Gaming. And I do see a specific problem. I do have a social purpose after building businesses in various industries, the last one being in the gambling industry. And I'd like to talk about what we could do collectively.
Well, let's start with the mission first. What's the mission?
The mission is to introduce problem gamblers to a much safer and softer version of what they usually play, but a free-to-play game where they are not really gambling away, but still get a similar thrill from playing the games. And as a result, they get to spend significantly less money, and don't create a problem within their lives, whether it's financially or anything else related.
So would it be fair to make a comparison there and say you're trying to make them vape instead of smoke?
That would not be the right comparison, though I see where you're getting to.
Well, with vaping, like nicotine is described as addictive.
Yes.
But caffeine is not described as addictive. Caffeine is described as a dependency rather than an addiction because it's not a destructive one. Nicotine on its own is not a destructive thing. I mean, unless you take enough to poison yourself, which is quite difficult. So you see what I'm saying? Once you take tar and all of that shit out of the equation, nicotine becomes a dependency rather than an addiction.
Perhaps a better comparison would be smoking versus vaping CBD. So it's a completely different substance and a completely different material that you're looking at. But I see where you're getting to. What we're trying to do is basically, maybe we can talk about what the problem is. Should we start there and then go from there?
We have the freedom to talk about whatever we want. We can talk about Cobra Kai if we want to. I've got my Cobra Kai shirt here just in case.
I love that show. I absolutely do. It takes me back to my childhood. So just to set the scene, there are about 24.5 million people gambling in the UK. That is 54% of the adult population. That's a very big number. And of these people, the habitual repeat gamblers are about 10% of that, so about 2.5 million. And then at any given point, there are people, about 200,000 people who are self-excluding for 6 to 12 months because they have a problem gambling issue or an addiction. Self-exclusion is basically you go to a online or an offline operator and you say, I have an issue, please take me off, and don't let me in the site or the platform for this many months. And the part that is most striking is those people who are self-excluding at any given point. The relapse rate is about, and relapse is basically whenever they go back to gambling, and that number is about 90% of that population going back to gambling. I know that there are many gambling charities out there, and I know them personally. I've interacted with them, had many chats with them. They're doing a phenomenal job to change people's lives. However, the numbers are vast, and it's a very, very big task. So new and innovative tools need to be introduced to be able to deal with the problem. And I've been following these reports that keep getting released about problem gambling and gambling addiction for a very long time. And every single time I review them, the numbers keep changing and they're going up, and the assumptions change, and the overall number, if you look at people who are suffering from any form of gambling related harm, it's anywhere between 1.4 to 2.5 million. People, I'm only talking about UK. I mean, take that and then extrapolate to the rest of the world, and then you will have a very, very large number. What we are aiming to do, so Transform Gaming by design, it's a platform that will consolidate social gaming publishers, and then create a unified platform where people can jump from one game to another seamlessly. But these games would be your casino type of games, but free to play. So what we used to play solitaire, for example, when we used to play solitaire, it's the same logic, but you would be playing any other type of casino game. What we have been trying to do, and this is a tool that we've been trying to develop for a while, is can we use some of those games or reskin and reproduce some of those games where we can introduce a new technology that already exists in all of our phones. It's the touchscreen accelerometer and gyroscope data that you can get from the phone, which will basically record an individual's physical behavior, such as finger movement across the screen, grip stability, hand position in space, and so on and so forth. And then use that data to run an algorithm in the background to determine the emotional state of that person. And then as they move from that emotional state, from one state to another, then we try to track patterns and see if those patterns are in line with what our assumptions are. And what we're trying to get to really is there an increase in impulsivity, compulsivity, and cognitive load of that person whilst they're interacting with the phone?
And those movements that you're talking about tracking, where are the assumptions of the meaning of those movements coming from? Where's that research from, if there is research?
There is research. There are multiple researches that we've looked at, and the one research that we really followed was a research done using Fruit Ninja, if you remember that game. And the accuracy that the researchers were able to get to was about 77%, trying to determine 3 different biomarkers. And one of they were being happy, sad, being exhausted, relaxed, being anxious, and in a good mood. And they were able to determine a specific, though it was a limited exercise with a small data pool, they were able to do a feedback and ask those people, were you feeling this way when you were playing this game? And they got to a 77% accuracy. Obviously, if you increase the the data and the user base significantly, then that accuracy needs to improve, and we aim a much higher accuracy than that. But that is our starting point, and the mission is to try to find a way to embed a new technology in a game, and whenever we see specific patterns, we try to aid with early identification of risky behaviors, and then try to adjust in-game experience, provide a safer alternative, and then provide data insights so that we can contribute to research on a continuous basis. But that's basically the summary of what we're trying to achieve.
I have a few questions, please.
Yeah.
Okay, so the goal is to help, or to give a substitute product for problem gamblers or problem casino gamblers.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're going to use social casino games as a way to do that. So you're going to aggregate other people's social casino games onto your platform?
Let me take a step back. So our base strategy is to aggregate and consolidate the social casino gaming space, the publishers. So we would come in as an investor and buy already existing publishers, consolidate them, create synergies, create a better user experience. But as another part of that strategy, which used to be a tool for us to satisfy our social responsibility, as well as a social mission that I personally have, because I'm the founder of the business and I've seen certain things in the gambling space when I was in there, and I want to help or fix as much as I can. And that idea became a tool. That tool became a specific product. We've developed a specific version of that product, and what we're trying to do is to improve the product and create a game where we would be able to embed the technology and test it out with in a specific test environment, and then see if it actually really works and if it is doing what we assume it to do. And then whenever we can, we will get involved. We will actively interfere whenever we see certain behavior and introduce mini games. For example, if you're playing a slot game and we see that there's a build-up of cognitive load, what we would like to do is introduce a mini game right on the screen where the user would play it for 2-3 minutes. Maybe it's a match 3 game, maybe it's a Tetris game or something similar that will calm the user, and then they can go back into what they were playing. But the whole point is to actively interfere on a continuous basis, and that active interference, studies show, is actually a good tool to eventually get rid of the problem or reduce the problem gambling behavior when it comes to compulsivity and cognitive load.
Okay, so so there's a private equity style play where you're rolling up social casino products under an umbrella group, drive synergies in the back end, and I'm assuming that's not a non-profit organization. So
that's a definitely for-profit organization. We don't have to go after this tool. We don't have to develop this tool. Our strategy is sound as it is, but we do have a social purpose. We are aiming to become a B Corp accredited company in the future. I do have a social purpose in this, and I want to do something different. Okay. And the tools that are currently available in the gambling charity space, we are trying to create an alternative, basically.
Understood. So I'm a player. I've downloaded, and I play Supercell games with my son and things like this. So, I'm assuming then within these games, I can, spend €50, buy 1,000,000 coins, or however the social casino games work. And so it follows that kind of mechanic. The active, I suppose, then there's, because obviously it kind of changes, I suppose, where I thought this was going. So I'm in there. I've spent 50 quid on coins. I'm playing the games. I'm playing slot games or roulette or whatever it is I'm doing within the social app, social casino. And obviously I've spent money on virtual coins, so I've got no cash out functionalities. I can't even get a t-shirt in theory. So the problem gambling interference, or the we're monitoring users' behavior, we're trying to disrupt their patterns. I suppose there's an inherent conflict there, because there's obviously a profit maximization route, and Supercell. Like I've seen, my favorite example is EA Lego Star Wars game, where they're selling gems or whatever it is. It was like a product, like just $500 worth of gems available in the store to buy as an item, right? Completely ridiculous. It's clearly aimed at kids. This is bonkers. So that's it taken to, and there's other extreme examples of that. So on one hand, you've got this profit maximization. We're selling coins. This is where we make money. Margins are obviously pretty high, because you can print unlimited coins. So really, it's just a marketing thing, marketing cost. And then the disruption. Like, I can understand we want people to game responsibly. I get that. And I get that it would potentially impact the lifetime of the user. Because ideally, if I'm getting more utility for my €10 on this platform versus other platforms or other games or other entertainment options, this makes sense. So I get that. The bit I'm missing is the wider purpose of the responsible gambling piece. How is this if I'm self-excluded from an online casino, real money online casino, like the substitution effect of your social casino. So first of all, like, how am I even aware this exists? And
sure. So
why would I choose this versus lots of other options out there on the internet, which will give me what my addiction is looking for? If that makes sense.
Yes. So I think there are a couple of questions there. Let me start with the first one. In terms of the spending patterns, if you look at social casino gaming versus real money gambling, whether you look at ARPDAO or ARPU, paying users or your daily active users, the difference is 10 to 15 times. So anyone I'll give you some numbers. So an ARPDAO for social casino gaming is about $1.5. And then the ARPDAO in the gambling world is roughly 20 times that. ARPU in the social casino gaming is about $35. And then ARPU in the real money gambling is about 15 times that. So what we're trying to do, the aim is to move customers, users, away from a tool where they spend significantly more money, provide a similar enjoyment and engagement. And by design, social casino games have to be more engaging and more creative, because you're not giving real money back, right? There are no real money rewards. And then as they move, our aim would be to retain the customer. The second question that you asked was, well, these people can spend a lot of money on coins and dragons and diamonds and whatnot very, very quickly. The aim that we would go after would not be that. That's very fast monetization. So, some publishers do go for that, and I understand the pattern, but at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is increase your LTV, and LTV, your lifetime value of a customer, is a function of spent times time. So if you can actually extend your retention of the customer for a much longer time, but then they are spending significantly less every day, then you still have a profitable customer. And then, once the cost of acquiring that customer is paid out, that's your payback period, then you actually have a profit generated from that customer. But it's all about how you get to that profit, how fast you want to get to that profit.
But in theory, like obviously the ARPU of a social casino or mobile gaming customer is significantly lower than an online casino.
Yeah.
But 90% or 95% of the users spend nothing, and then a very small percentage pay for everything. So straight away, if we're taking an average of all users divided by spend, that's one thing. But the people who are spending are typically spending big.
Yeah.
Within that cohort, and there's literally nothing stopping me spending as much money on a social game as an online casino. So there's no like, I could drop 5K into Brawl Stars tonight if I wanted to, and I'd have the super mega character. So it, you know what I mean? Like it's not quite.
I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. But then it is up to the operator to allow that, right? If the operator
absolutely,
if the operator chooses to promote you such, pop-up ads, and it's obviously part of the promotional mechanism and the monetization mechanism of an operator. But that's a choice, right? Mm-hmm. The choice could be promoting less spending, but retaining the customer for a much longer time. Because the more
I'm a big believer in. I'm a really big believer in that.
Because the more you push the customer to spend, you're basically pushing them to a churn. Then in the world of ATT, the app tracking transparency, and where we can no longer have IDFA, it's very difficult to retarget the customer. So you lose them, and then you spend a lot of money and time trying to get them back. So I think, and I'm a firm believer in this, and it makes absolute financial sense. You should be holding on to your customer, and you should be providing them the best experience and try to retain them as long as you possibly can, but not abusing the relationship.
Yep, that I'm a believer in. Okay, so when you first, so maybe I missed something at the beginning. When you first started talking, you were talking about like the number of self-excluded gamblers, the number who relapse, and I think in my head, what I'd understood, this was like a solution for that, but maybe I've just got that wrong, right?
What we would aim to do is actually work alongside gambling operators, because gambling operators do have specific tools to, it's part of their duty of care, it's part of their business model. They constantly track churn, they constantly track aggressive gambling behavior, and they always track anomalies, and it's all driven by the session data that a customer has. What we're aiming to introduce is a new tool when they have actually determined that a specific user is showing a certain pattern, that they can promote our product, which is a free-to-play social casino game, and push the customers towards there to be able to introduce a different product, and hopefully, if the customer, the user, likes that product, we can retain them. And we would have your next question would be, why would the gambler operator do that? There would be a reason for them to do that, a financial reason. They would be a party to this. But
I'd be more worried about what their lawyers would say in terms of the risks, right? So if we've identified somebody with an issue, we have to do everything we can to, protect that user.
Yeah.
And then referring them to a third party product where they can deposit money is a potential. Like if they lose, okay, it'll happen slowly, but if they spend 500 quid that they can't afford over the next 12 months on your platform, would the original operator be potentially open for liability?
They would be open for liability, and it's again up to the operator to see how that spending works, right? If you are not pushing your customer to spend that much money, because in a free-to-play world, you do start with, 50 million chips. It takes a while to go through those 50 million chips unless you are bombarded with more promotional tactics where you are basically given the option to buy more chips, more than you require.
It also depends on how the in-game currency is used. Because there is a trick that free-to-play casinos use, and it's used in other places as well, where it makes it sound like you're getting shitloads of stuff. It's like, 100 million coins free when you sign up. Yeah, but each time you play, it's going to cost you 10 million. So it's like it's all about how the value of that currency in the game as well. Because and it's a very simple psychological trick, but it really works.
Of course, the numbers are more like 50 million chips versus 100,000 bets, but I see where you're getting to. Our aim is not to do that. Our aim is to give the customer a tool where they would be able to play in a leisurely way and not over-aggressively try to monetize them. That's not the idea. What we're trying to do is build customer loyalty rather than aggressive monetization.
Got it. So I suppose then if we and look, and that makes perfect sense, because obviously like mobile games have got like I kind of think of like a Fibonacci type sequence where they kind of get you in, you start leveling up, you start triggering the dopamine, and then everything gets harder and harder, and then eventually you're encouraged to buy in-app items, whatever, to keep progressing. Okay, but if we assume, and absolutely no doubt not to assume that this is like the best run social casino, the users are looked after, everything's great. It's like, I think leisurely is a great word for this, and I really like that approach. The disadvantage then you'd be at is your monetization of your users is going to be significantly less than your competitors. Which then would mean that what you could afford for marketing in terms of like target CPAs or cost per installs would be significantly different to your competitors. And does it end up, so there's always that arms race for media and installs and traffic and all of these kind of things. Do you potentially end up kind of boxing yourself into a corner then where you've got this really good product, but it's actually quite hard to promote it economically, because nobody else is doing this, and they're monetizing quick, and they're getting their payback, and they're doing all those things that mobile games are famous for these days.
Yeah. Again, let me clarify what we try to do under this scheme, and we call the project Convert. It's a completely different game. It's a completely different mechanic. It's a completely different approach. What we're trying to do is actually do something good, and it's a tool that we've created. We don't intend to embed that into our rest of our portfolio. That is a for-profit business, and we will run it very responsibly, but not to the level where we're trying to help a specific situation where we're trying to convert problem gamblers. There we have significantly more scrutiny. We are very much aware of that. And what we're trying to do is to do something good and then eventually hope that those people become our gamers.
Okay. So this is a completely separate
separate
product
This is a completely separate app. We're not aiming.
There's no in-app purchases, nothing like that. So this is a completely separate free-to-play.
It's a completely separate free-to-play product.
Solely free-to-play. Completely solely free-to-play. Okay. Yeah. Can I ask a question about it then? It's going to sound like a bit of a strange question, but bear with me.
Yeah.
How'd you stop it getting boring?
We are actually developing a very interesting game. It's driven by the data that we're trying to get. So the swipe speed, the swipe intensity, pressure, the speed that you type, the speed that you scroll, that's what we're trying to track. And that will give us the data that we need to be able to make an inference. Because of that, for example, we're playing around with the idea of a slot game, but it would have reels turning in different directions as well. And as you move the product, it will be moving with you as well, because we're trying to catch that gyroscope effect as well. So by design, because of the technological requirements that we have to be able to capture the data that we want to capture, we're creating a very different game. It's in its production phase. We need to see if it's going to work. But our starting point is innovation. And slot machines have been around for a very long time, and they have been playing perfectly fine. But can we change it around a little bit so that it becomes a little bit more interesting, because it will look different in the hands of the user?
But is there room to again, might be a stupid question, and I'm sorry.
No, there are no stupid questions. Please fire away.
People always say that before they meet me.
Yeah, John asked the question. No, there's also the South Park quote of "There's no stupid questions, but there are stupid people," which I do like.
Also very, very fair. My favorite is in Heather's, the old. I've got to ask you a really stupid question. It's a lunchtime poll topic. That guy, and JD says, "There are no stupid questions," and she says that big Ed guy comes down from. He's got the publisher's sweepstake check. It's $1 million. Same day aliens come down, land on the earth, and say they're going to blow it up in 3 days. What do you do? And he just looks at her and says, "That's the stupidest question I've ever heard." But anyway, so you're talking about developing games with a different purpose and in a different way that still fulfills certain things for people that are searching for a certain thing, right?
Correct.
Okay. Is there not room or scope within what you're trying to do? See, when I was asking about how do you stop it getting boring, I was thinking, you've got to offer, like within your app, you've got to offer a wide sweep of things to stop people going, do you know what? This is fucking boring. I want roulette. That's over there or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's difficult. It's expensive. I mean, it takes time. It takes money. Is there not the potential to create a tool that sits and works with existing software, or to re-engineer existing game software or a platform to make this work? Do you see where I'm going? I'm really struggling to phrase this and say what I mean.
I think what you're trying to say is there no scope to introduce this software into an already existing game that is already interesting and engaging, and there is a monetization scheme, there is a reward scheme, still free to play. So we will never. So the definition of gambling is: do you have to pay to join a session, and do you win real money or anything that could be traded for real money when you win that session? Right? That's the definition of gambling. We will not do that. That is a specific aim as Transform Gaming. We don't want to get into that space that invites regulation, that invites scrutiny, and we are who we are. We don't want to do that. But your question, I think, is along the lines of, fine, you've created this interesting game that is serving a specific purpose to move problem gamblers away from gambling and into gaming, and then introduce them to the world of safer social casino gaming. Would you ever embed your product into all of the other games that you have in your portfolio? The answer is no. The answer is no, because what we would aim to do with that intermediary product called Convert, we would actually try to get into the game design. So whenever it becomes boring, as you said, we would like to introduce new elements. And these could be, the form of, if they are showing an impulsive, pattern, then we can introduce, free promotions that they win more coins. It's a free-to-play game. Why not? All you're trying to do is keep the customer engaged and entertained as long as you can without abusing that relationship. But eventually, what we would aim to do is to introduce them to the world of free-to-play gaming and away from gambling, and hope that they will become our loyal customers in the future. But there needs to be a distinction between that intermediary product, because that intermediary product is trying to break a specific pattern, that problem gambling behavior. And once we can do that, once we can tell ourselves that this customer is ready to move to the next level, then we will do that.
And is there breaking the, and I'm not a psychologist but breaking that problem gambling habit, if you were an alcoholic, you wouldn't go to a pub. If you're a recovering alcoholic, you wouldn't go to a pub and order Coca-Cola. You'd probably try and just stay out of the pub. If these are casino type games, regardless of the design or whatever, but that kind of basic functionality, is it actually possible to break the problem gambling habit when, a lot of the advice, I believe, is just stay away from these games and introduce other things. And, the whole, everything around it is just stay away from this stuff and don't try and fill one addiction with another addiction or replace one addiction with another addiction. Is there how far along is the research or the kind of thinking on what breaking this addiction actually entails and how likely success would be? Because you could easily imagine a scenario. I'm a problem gambler. I've self-excluded. I'm playing on the game. I'm up 1 million coins or whatever the number is. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, if this was real money, I'd be sorted. And, you start salivating, thinking about the real money opportunities that just run of luck you've just had. And off you go to find somewhere to go do that. So you could easily see those types of, and I'm just making up an example. I don't know if it's a realistic example or not, but you get my point. So the breaking there, that's a big claim, right? So what's the thinking behind that? And what's the science behind it? How are you guys going to try and do that? And what's the reality?
You can actually you can create a ring-fenced mechanism around your game. And let me give you an example. There are apps where if you are in that app, it blocks different types of apps in your phone. And what we would aim to do is to use a very similar technology. So when a user is playing our free-to-play Convert game, we would aim to stop them from going to a gambling app if they get that urge. And block that. They would have to physically force quit the game to be able to do that. And then we would know something has happened. Because that would be associated with a specific pattern that they're showing, and they force quit out of the game, and then we would know, okay, this customer A is in that state of mind, they force quit, they probably want to go back to gambling. Then there would be another intervention mechanism, a messaging tool that goes out to them. Are you sure? Have you tried this? Have you done that? Can we get you back? Sort of thing. All of this needs to be tested. We are, as I said, at the start of this product. We have a working product. We need to test it with live users and have their feedback. But the research shows that there is a promising outcome, and we would like to be able to test it and see. If you will never know if you don't test it. You will never know if it's going to work. And I'm not here to say that it will definitely work. We have to test it, and that's why we need partners in the gambling operators industry to be able to test the product on a very specific small sample of people and see if it actually works.
Understood. So who else is part of your team?
I have so the team is predominantly composed of social gaming veterans of the industry. I have a phenomenal CTO who has built a very successful social casino gaming business and sold it to one of the biggest aggregators in the space. I have a chief commercial officer who is again a veteran of the space and a great statistician who will be taking on the user acquisition tools and developing those tools. I have a chief AI officer who would be having a top-down approach to all the businesses that we're acquiring and try to automate as much of the processes as we possibly can. And in this day and age, you are able to do many more things with machine learning and deep learning. I have a great CFO who has a deep knowledge of public equity and valuations. And I have a great chief people and experience officer who would help me with the merger and help me with the HR side of things, which we will have to touch upon, because at the end of the day, what we need to create is a better unified platform for Transform Gaming. In terms of Convert, the product itself, I have been working with a brilliant neuroscientist who has come up with this idea, and his idea was can we embed a specific technology where we are able to determine the state of mind of those people and eventually predict a tendency to having a cognitive disease. But that requires a significantly larger pool of data, a significantly larger number of biomarkers that you need to track to be able to get there. We're talking about years and years of data that needs to be accumulated. And then at the end of the day, you need to have a very robust AI engine that is going to be able to take that data and give you the information accurately for you to be able to take a decision. I have been talking to him for a very long time to try to find a way to come up with a prediction for problem gambling behavior where you have less biomarkers that you need to track. And that was the start of the Convert product that I've been talking about. But I have him as my consultant. And I have a game developing team sitting in the US, ex-Disney guys, who will be able to develop a very interesting, innovative game product that will be able to, as I said, because of the technological requirements that we have for the product, they're coming up with a very interesting, very different game that is not in the market.
I have a question.
Please.
You didn't mention anybody specializing in what in the industry is referred to as RG in your team. Is that a conscious choice, or what?
We are still developing the team, and this is still a live product. We will have more people joining the team, but currently the people that I have are focusing on developing a specific product and make it work. Obviously, as we grow the team and as we grow our strategy, we will add more positions.
Okay, because I mean, the one thing that regardless of anybody's opinion of what's going on in RG, right? And there are lots of positions on RG. What specialists in that bring is an understanding of player acquisition, player marketing, how the mechanism works with the player, etc. And I think that experience is invaluable.
You know, the automated systems for around the markers of harm and stuff as well,
and the combination of the markers.
We can give you a list of names if you want. We've had them all on the podcast.
We have, yeah.
I think you are you definitely have more contacts there. Happy to have a chat. We are aiming to grow the team further, but this is the core team that we have to get the business up and running.
Okay, how far away are you from the running part?
Probably 6 months away from our first acquisition. And in terms of the convert product, we're probably 18 months away. Yeah, so it'll take a while. We probably will first build the consolidation platform, and then the product will be developed. Then we will be able to test it. But 18 months to market, really. So that involves, the testing, the pilot testing, the calibration, and testing it with real people, feedback, and then eventually launching the game.
Got it. So the request for the industry is you're looking for some gambling operators to partner with to test?
Yes, I've already been talking to them, and we're trying to reach out to more partners who would be interested in testing the product, because that is basically going to determine if the product is working or not for us. And if not, it would be a great idea that we pushed to solve a specific problem that we see. And if it doesn't work, we've still given it a fair shot. As I said, you need to go out there and give it a shot. Solutions won't just present themselves. You need to test them. You need to create them and test them and see if it works.
And it brings data, doesn't it?
Exactly. Maybe we can learn from our endeavors and try to create a different product based on that data, based on what we've seen, and tweak it so that it works better. But it's a long journey. We're very much aware of that. But we do have a guiding principle, which is our social purpose.
Super.
Cool.
I'm shit out of questions, Fintan. You got anything?
On the roll-up side of things, like what kind of social casino stuff are you looking for? What's kind of in scope, out of scope, wish list, that kind of thing?
We have a very long list of potential targets. We have the geography is we're looking globally at these potential acquisition targets. There are some that we're quite close to, what we're trying to promote is that this is a collaboration that we're trying to create between different publishers. Even though it's a consolidation game, that collaboration can bring more value to the customer, more value to the platform. but it's a long list that we have, and obviously we're in imminent discussions with some of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
But we're looking at social casino gaming and casual casino gaming. That's our interest. And that's where this new product hopefully will sit, as a completely separate, different game that has a social purpose.
Brilliant.
So happy to meet different publishers whenever they reach out and have a friendly conversation.
Where can they find you?
I will be at PGC Helsinki next week. And I'll be there for 3 days, and happy to.
Well, I think this might be out after that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I will be at other conferences soon, so I will. I have a LinkedIn page, and I always do post whenever I'm going to conferences, and happy to meet them. But I'm based out of London. If they are in London, happy to have a chat.
Okay, if you want to look up Sina on LinkedIn, it is SinaAzeri, Sina Azeri. Presumably G2E, ICE, all the big ones.
Yes. Well, G2E and ICE are more catering to gambling. I would be going more to gaming conferences, but I will be at ICE for sure. G2E, I will miss this time because I will be at another conference, but ICE, I will go.
The social side of all of this is growing and growing at the big events, because the suppliers to the regulated gaming side and the paid gambling side are all looking towards social and sweeps to supply now. So it's a growing presence. So there will still be, and I'm not just saying that because Clarion Gaming is one of our sponsors.
Okay.
It's because it's true.
Good to know.
But anyway, Sina Azeri, thank you very much for joining us today and explaining your fascinating product. And you know, we look forward to seeing it, you know,
and hearing more. Yeah,
in full flow.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.